Welcome back, everybody. Mark from Rams Up here. I have our third mock draft of this season, heading into the 2024 NFL draft. And I have some different assumptions to offer up this time, changing it up every time. What situation are the Rams going to be in come draft day? And this is how I see it, at least for this draft. And these assumptions are scrolling along on the bottom there. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, the ticker will refresh your memory constantly what these assumptions are. The Rams have re-signed Kevin Dotson and Akhello Witherspoon. That's a change up from what we did the other two drafts. This really puts the Rams in a much better situation, a lot more flexibility come draft day. Jordan Fuller, however, has signed elsewhere. And John Johnson, Coleman Shelton, and Demarcus Robinson remain unsigned. So, depending on how this draft goes, the Rams may be interested in their services, perhaps not. So they could be about to lose some leverage if they do indeed want to come back to the Rams. We'll see. This is just for fun, just for kicks, for entertainment purposes only. Let's see how I do. And the good news is, for the first time, as far as first time I've seen, the NFL Mock Draft Database has awarded that 100th pick to the Rams for that Raheem Morris hire. Could end up being 101. I don't know if that 100 is official. It's going to be 100, 101, I think. But regardless, at this point, it is pick number 100 in the Mock Draft Database. So makes it a little more straightforward on this draft board making these picks. So let's get it started. And what do we think, knowing these, aware of these assumptions, the Rams still need a safety and a cornerback in all likelihood to improve those groups. Could add someone on the defensive line. Offensive line, do you try to find that left tackle and slide a Lyric over to left guard and Steve Avila to center? Do you draft strengthen the interior of that offensive line? Let a Lyric roll for another year? I don't know. I don't know what we do here. Coleman Shelton looks like he's the odd man out. The Rams have some flexibility with the guys on their roster, but ideally a left tackle. I just don't know if they're going to get the guy they want in the draft. And let's get it kicked off and see how it goes. Now, as I've been doing these mock drafts, I don't pretend to be an expert on any of these players. There's a bunch of them I'm becoming more and more familiar with as we go. And then every draft I do, and there's a lot I do that, a lot of drafts I don't even publish that you don't see. But there's a lot of drafts where I'm picking guys I don't really know a whole lot about them. And then I go do the homework, and next time around, hopefully a little more educated on the players. Now, one thing I'm not going to do is pick a player that realistically is not going to be there for the Rams, and Rome Odunze, the wide receiver, is not going to last to the 19th pick. Just not going to happen, but there he is sitting there. So I'm not going to make that pick. If he was there, the Rams would jump all over that. One of those top three wide receivers, geez. Now, Terrion Arnold very well could last that long. And, with Akhello Witherspoon coming back, and Durant and Kendrick, and we have Trey Tomlinson, maybe we're bringing another guy. We still need a stud cornerback, right? We need a young stud cornerback. And if we draft Terrion Arnold, if we draft any one of these 5 top cornerbacks, if we look here, who has been taken, Mitchell, Wiggins, DeJean, and McKinstry, all gone before Arnold, which is, it could happen, but Arnold in this database anyways is the highest rated cornerback. I'd be happy with any one of those 5. I'm going to go ahead and draft Arnold. Well, let's take a quick look at offensive tackle. Mims is there. Not sure he's going to be able to hold up at left tackle. I don't think Tyler Goyton is either. Jordan Morgan, could he last to 53? Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm going to take the cornerback, and I may regret it. Maybe the offensive lineman's a better way to go. Let's get the cornerback. And this is a pretty deep draft in cornerbacks. That's the other thing. You can get some good ones later. I'm already second guessing myself. Maybe we should have went with the offensive lineman or maybe a wide receiver. But our cornerback room is in pretty good shape. Probably need to add a safety still. Tavondre Sweat, now, I've been going back and forth on him. A lot of people really like him, but this guy is really big. And the Rams don't typically gravitate towards guys like that, these really giant defensive linemen. And I don't know, I'm not feeling it. He's probably going to end up being a very good player for someone in the right system. I just don't think it's the Rams system. And I know, some of the guys I've had on the show are going to disagree with me on that. But hey, we're allowed to disagree. And I've seen Tyler Nubin mocked to the Rams as a safety. We're going to go secondary, our first two picks. I don't know. I'm just not sure about that. Roman Wilson, a wide receiver that would be a really good fit for this team. Do we go wide receiver, skipping both both offensive line and defensive line this deep into the draft, into our second pick? Oh boy, this isn't really going the way I hoped. Let's go look at the offensive tackles one more time. We may have missed on the top guys, it looks like, right? Leonard Taylor, defensive line. Taylor is an exceptional player, and adding him would be a real boost for this defense. Let's look at the interior offensive line one more time. Now, if we have Avila at center and Kevin Dotson in this example at right guard, who is our left guard, are we going to draft a left guard in the second round? I don't think we're going to do that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and draft the Leonard Taylor out of Miami. He's on this board. I think he's a little underrated. I think on most boards he's going to be even higher than that. And see what kind of grade they give. Give me a C plus for that. But sorry, man. I think I am actually very happy with that pick. So our next pick, I think, is at 83 when we pick again. I think that's when we pick again. Let's see who we got. The safety's still on the board. We got a good running back, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., linebacker. There's some good players here. And Corley, the wide receiver, is still there. I really like him. He's like 5'10", 220, something like that. Not the typical metrics profile of a wide receiver the Rams would select, though. One of the best safeties in the draft is still there. We do not have an interior offensive line yet. Kalen Bullock, another good safety. Yeah, Braden Fisk. Braden Fisk is still there. I took Braden Fisk. I took Leonard Taylor. Could have got Braden Fisk with this pick. In the previous drafts, Braden Fisk was coming off the board before the Rams' third pick. He'd be really good value there, but I'm not going two defensive linemen. I'm going to go ahead and take the safety out of Georgia. And we'll just have to hope our offensive line is. Good thing again, in this example, we retained Kevin Dotson. So that's the good thing. So we have our entire offensive line, except Coleman Shelton, coming back. This is that 100th pick that we got for the Raheem Morris hire. So review our selections again. We have the cornerback and a safety and a defensive lineman, 3 defensive players. And, if you look at this team and what they did last year, it kind of makes sense that they're going to go heavy on defense. Braden Fisk is still there, 100 picks deep. That's not realistic. He's going to be gone by then. Let's look at the offensive tackles. Is there anybody that we would consider taking with the 100th pick? And no, this is a dilemma for the Rams. they have the 100th pick, and their next pick, I think, is 152, 153, somewhere in there. No fourth round pick, and they are going to trade up and get themselves a fourth round pick, but they're not going to have that in this draft. They're going to start with like 11 picks. They're going to end up with 8 or 9 picks, and one of those 8 or 9 picks will be a fourth round pick, and they would target one of these offensive linemen you're seeing here, right? But they're not going to target one of them with the 100th pick. Not going to happen. 100th pick. We need to go offense. And I'm really thinking we need to go wide receiver or offensive line. And Cedric Van Pran is the highest rated interior offensive lineman. Now, is he a power rusher that can excel in this offense? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Not pretending to be an expert on all these players at this point, but I'm going to go ahead and make that selection. We'll get an interior offensive lineman on board. I feel very strongly that regardless the starting 5 looks like at any point, we need eight offensive linemen that can step in and play. And we saw what happened a couple years ago. We had guys stepping in that just did not get the job done, and our season was essentially over. We did not have the offensive line to get it done. Of course, we went, I think, 13 offensive linemen deep, so that was an exceptional situation. But still, well, we can't just identify our 5 starters and say we're good to go. We need more so than needing 4 wide receivers, 5 wide receivers. We need we need 5 plus 3 along the offensive line. So what do we have here so far? Let's review my mock draft number 3 selection so far. We got a cornerback, a defensive lineman, a safety, and an interior offensive lineman. I forgot to check. I'm forgetting about the guys that I really targeted in this draft, and there was a safety that Vaki is still there. Sione Vaki is still there. And man, I've already drafted a safety, but he's not going to last long. And we have not selected a wide receiver yet. Need to do homework on some of these guys. Jacob Cowing out of Arizona is pretty good value here. Are there any names jumping off here that I'm familiar with that I would love to jump on here with this at this point in the draft? I'm going to go ahead and take the wide receiver. And you know what? I don't care that I've already taken a safety. This Vaki is a guy that you want on your team. You just want him on your team. If nothing else, he's going to be a special team stud. And it gives you a lot of flexibility. This guy's versatile. He can play running back, believe it or not. He can do it all. Curious what grade they gave me with that. Probably not a good one. B plus, not bad. Gotta do some. What I'll do on the podcast following this, when this gets posted on the YouTube channel, at some point after that, or right about the same time, the podcast that aligns with that, I will give you a full rundown on some of these players that I'm selecting that I'm not as familiar with as I should be. And this board here, by the way, is telling you the position groups that you have not hit yet. We probably should add an offensive tackle at some point, right? And maybe, we missed the guy I was thinking of. Not getting really good value there at this point. Tight end from Kansas State is a guy I like. Almost had him on my 10 draft picks I really like for the Rams. He was the 11th guy. That was a podcast I did a few days ago. Jalen Ford, we need the thing about drafting linebackers is, they're generally they can be studs on your special teams. So, and our special teams need help. So he may not be a starter. Our linebacker group is not stellar at this point. So let's add a linebacker that can help special teams as well. I think we need to add a running back. I've made the argument you draft a running back every year. Got to do it. Is there anybody here that really jumps out? Dylan Lobby, is it Lobby or Lob? He's a guy that I forget what I read about him. I know I read something about him, and whatever it was I read, I liked. I can't remember what it was at this point. But Dylan Johnson out of Washington is a much higher. Well, not really that much higher. I'm going to go ahead and take Lobby. Let's just call him Dylan. You all know how I struggle with names. Pretty hard to keep up with all these. So going back here, we don't have an edge rusher, a quarterback, or an offensive tackle. And Cardi, the kicker from Stanford, is a guy that I would not hesitate to take, and I'm going to go ahead and take him. And a lot of you are probably screaming at me, taking a kicker, what are you doing? I think the Rams are going to sign a veteran kicker, but I think they could also very well draft a kicker. Cardi was a stud at the Senior Bowl. So let's roll with that. There's a quarterback that I talked about in my 10, the 10, they have him so low. Gavin Hardison. I really liked him. The 10 draft prospects I really liked, I included Gavin Hardison. According to this, he's undraftable. So I'm not going to make a fool of myself here and draft him. But let's go back and look one more time. What do we have here? We have 2 more picks, and we have not selected a offensive tackle, a quarterback, or an edge rusher. And I have made the argument pretty strongly. Rams don't need to draft an edge rusher. They need to go sign a veteran edge rusher is what they need to do. They drafted 3 edge rushers last year. And I don't expect them to spend a high pick on an edge rusher. If there's someone out there that they fall in love with, of course. Now, Jalix Hunt, Houston Baptist, this is like a prototypical Rams edge rusher draft pick. Chris Garrett, Daniel Hardy. Let's add Jalix Hunt out of Houston Baptist to the mix. And now we've hit on every position except tight end, quarterback, and offensive tackle. If you told me I was going to come out of this draft without an offensive tackle, I would be mad at myself. And I'm mad at myself right now. But let's go ahead and draft an offensive tackle. How about that? The highest rated offensive tackle, Julian Pearl. We'll make that selection. I don't know anything about the guy. We're going to draft Julian Pearl, though. And that's going to wrap it up, right? And again, I'm not sure how I feel about this. We got these top 3 guys are all going to be very good NFL football players. Vaki, you're going to love him. The running back out of New Hampshire, he's going to be a nice pick as well. You're going to like him. Some of these other guys I got to do some homework on. Cardi could potentially solve our kicker problem without spending a 3rd round pick, 49ers, on a kicker. Cardi, I expect, would be better than Moody. And when the Rams get to the Super Bowl next year, Cardi will not be missing an extra point. And he will also make a couple 50-yarders like he did in the Senior Bowl. Well, made at least one of them anyways. That is my pick. That is my 3rd mock draft. Again, the more I do this, I'm thinking the Rams could very well try to move up in the 1st round and find a wide receiver or an offensive tackle. The offensive tackles that have been dropping to me when I do these are typically just really big right tackles, not the type of guys that you're going to be able to hand the job to on day 1. So what's the point? Just let a Lyric Jackson roll there, or maybe sign one. Do they do what they did with Andrew Whitworth in 2017? Sean McVay's first year there, one of the big moves he made, go out and sign an established Pro Bowl left tackle, and there are a couple out there. Don't know if they're going to do that. Kind of doubt that they will, but if you want to replace Alaric Jackson, and I, is it necessary? I'm not convinced, but if you're going to replace Alaric Jackson, you're going to either have to move up in this draft or spend some money, sign someone. Unless there's, one of these second, third round guys that the Rams are falling in love with, and kind of like a Steve Avila situation, draft him in the second round or late in the first, 19th pick overall, and hand the job to him. But from what I know, not seeing it from my homework. But that's my mock draft number 3 there for you. Feeling better about this than the last one. Not sure about these mid-round picks, Van Pran, Cowing. Those are the two that I got A's for them. Do some homework on them, and I'll get back to you next podcast. Out here from Rams Up.